Welcome to the Essence of Homeschooling podcast, brought to you by the umbrella school, Stateros Academy. We empower and equip you to cultivate the authentic homeschool lifestyle where freedom and relationships rule.
We have realized in talking about accommodations and modifications that we took the spin of those who are not on grade level and need a lower grade level. We also have kids who work at a higher grade level. How do we accommodate and even modify their education to help them progress at the faster rate that they're processing information?
You're more advanced learners, and that isn't always across the board. It can sometimes be ahead in math, but struggle in reading or something like that.
Right.
And also, it can be all of the grade levels. Knowing that it's okay to make modifications for those as well, it probably comes into play more in high school when you're thinking about classes and transcripts. But even in the lower grades, for example, with reading, I hear all the time, my child is reading at such a high level that it's difficult to find appropriate reading material because you don't necessarily want them reading War and Peace just because they can, whatever it might be. So those are things that as a parent teacher, you can know that it's wonderful if you can move your child ahead. If they're ready to move ahead in math and you realize, wow, they know really everything in this sixth grade level. I'll just touch on a couple of things I don't think we covered already and then move on to seventh grade. Perfectly fine. Or just within that curriculum or that lesson, I'm only going to do one or two problems here because I'm pretty sure they've got it. Just a quick recap and move on and move forward like that. Perfectly fine. It does get a little bit like the homeschool joke. I'm not sure what grade I'm in. Which class are you talking about? It does get a little bit tricky. I know when we had to sign up our kids for camps and things like that, especially with my younger son, it was so many times I'm doing sixth grade work, but I guess I'm technically only in fourth grade or whatever it was. And he wanted to be with the big kids and the older kids. You run into those little issues, but generally speaking, as far as the academics are concerned, don't worry about that. In the classroom, we did that, whether it was giving them more rigorous reading material or letting them do the extra math problems at the end for fun. Some kids really like that. And having contests or letting them attend the Math Olympics is one that our school participated in and things like that. You can encourage those kinds of things or letting them do special projects that are above and beyond what the other kids might have the bandwidth for. Lean into that as a homeschooler and enjoy that and realize, yeah, those are modifications for your advanced learners. Some curriculum these days for homeschoolers is really wonderful. It has those levels built into the curriculum, which is wonderful whether you're working with just your kids happen to be, I've got kindergarten through sixth grade, I've got 5 of them. Or you've got maybe only a couple of kids learning at different levels for whatever reason. So look for those kinds of curriculum. Those can be very helpful, but it's okay to do it on your own as well.
And it's also things like giving them longer papers, expecting more from the paper they do write, expecting them to attack the subject in a higher level than maybe someone at their same age, which is fine. So again, the beauty of homeschooling, right, is you're child-centered. Your kids shouldn't really know, other than when they're asked what grade they're in, where they are. I think the whole reason I stumbled my way into homeschooling is I saw from one of my kids that they like to only do what they had to do to get by. And I thought, that's not my hope for him. I want him to love life and enjoy learning. So he just never knew that he had moved on to the next math level because I just kept moving him forward. Whereas in the classroom setting, it was one of those of, oh, you only have to do this much. I was like, I know you understand it, just like you had said earlier, Kim. I knew you understood this, so I moved you to the next thing. Why spend a week on doing this graph that you understand in 5 seconds? And we've played with Skittles before because we've put the color in the graph lines. Why redo it all? So move on to the next thing. In curriculums, there are certain ones that, yes, do help you know how to move on. That's easier in math and science on moving on than it is in reading and writing. But again, you're the one with your child understanding what level they're reading at to keep giving them more challenging material, stretching the vocabulary kind of things, whether you do it with audiobooks or you do it with books that they read themselves. That's all good. Let them write creatively. And a lot of times with creative writing, I would never grade it on a full separate piece of paper. I would read their creative writing for fun. And then on a different piece of paper, I'd notice what words they're struggling with and pull out their spelling list from that, or pull out their organization from that. But their creative writing was meant to be totally delightful and totally their own thing, because I don't want to destroy a desire in that. And so again, you're doing all of this where your kid is naturally going.
Welcome to Statheros Academy. We are an umbrella school that fulfills legal reporting requirements for homeschoolers in Colorado. But all of our services like transcripts, diplomas, IDs, and coaching are available no matter where you live. Don't forget to check out our store for homeschool essentials like attendance logs, planners, report cards, and DIY high school transcripts. Whether you need help with paperwork, planning, support, or guidance on your homeschool journey, Statheros Academy is here to support you. Visit theumbrellaschool.com to learn more.
In science, we talked about it before with the water cycle. Some may need it at just the very basic level, while others can then start to discover, what is the cloud made of? How is it made? Why is there hail? Why is there this? And so they can delve in at a different level. The library is still a fabulous resource, especially nowadays that you can go and reserve the books. Instead of have to go find them all, you can search online to figure out what you need. But the library is great. Science Olympiad is another way you can use the extracurricular things to help fill in their passion so that they can keep moving at a different level. And then they're around others who enjoy the same things they enjoy.
They're great ideas. Yeah, we don't want them to think that the extra projects or reading or whatever is some sort of punishment for being an advanced learner. So you want to make it, wow, this is exciting. Good job. Let's try this, cheering them on and finding more ways to keep them passionate about learning, because you hear it so often. Why is my child acting up in class or whatever it is? Even at home, I know they're a sharp kid. Why are they just doing bare minimum and failing this? And the answer comes back a lot of times, they're bored. So you want to keep them engaged and keep them moving forward. And the other thing about curriculum, I talk to a lot of parents who have kids that are at different ends of the spectrum in terms of their learning, and they're very close in age. And so that can get a little dicey. For example, if your older child is the struggling learner, but your younger child is the advanced learner, that younger child is going to be catching up and nipping at the heels of the older child. Oh, that can get a little bit tricky sometimes. And so I encourage parents that if at all possible, really try to keep that on the down low, right? You want to encourage your advanced learner and support them. Don't make them feel bad about being a smart kid, but at the same time, you want to keep encouraging them both. One thing I recommend is having different curriculum for each child. If one child is doing math UC, the other child might be doing Life of Fred or Abeka or something, or Saxon or something like that. So keep it different so they can't say, oh, I'm in, second grade level. You're in such and such, you're only kindergarten or whatever it is. So those are just little tips.
As a family, we often use the terminology of we're a team, and each team member has a different strength. And especially with my two boys, I would talk about, hey, this may not be his strength and it's your strength, but you're going to need his strength at one point because he sees the world differently and he's going to help you understand, even if he didn't read at your same level. Work on that teamwork aspect so that you're helping build a friendship. You're not in competition. Your kids shouldn't be in educational competition with one another because they need different things at different times. but help build that teamwork so that as they get older, they realize, oh, I really did need to learn it this way because I'm built to impact the world this way. My career needs this different thing, this different gift that I have. And I do remember I had my kids generally run 3 years apart, but with my dyslexic, the child younger suddenly was reading and I went, but I didn't teach you. How did you learn? It's because she was sitting there the whole time learning all the games that we were doing with him. But I don't ever remember, and I'm sure it probably happened because some things came faster for her, but his auditory skills were stronger than hers. So you help them understand where their strength is and to rely and help one another in those weaknesses. And it can be a lot of fun. It is definitely a challenge having two who are 3 years apart who might be on the same level in something. And so that's where I said interests as opposed to curriculum. Like you said, use different curriculum. So I went with a different interest for one child and used a different interest for another child so that they could keep growing at their different rates.
Oh, that's very good. I love that. Very good.
There is a place where you do have to honor the developmental level of your child. And we've talked about this in the past. I know we have a podcast on it about the developmental learning. We're physically capable, we're emotionally capable, and mentally capable. And sometimes those three don't line up for the same physical age. So even if they are very capable at a higher level of reading, do still pay attention to their emotional and mental development because they're not ready for the complex and varied ways of an older book, of an adult book, of possibly even a teen book, because you don't want your fourth grader dealing with dating issues in the teen books. So check some of the classics out a little more that have higher vocabulary, but Treasure Island was dealing with an adventure as opposed to that emotional piece of relationship that your highly capable reader is just not emotionally ready for. So
Okay.
there is that finesse of understanding the various developmental growths that we each have, and they don't line up.
That's a very good point. Sometimes parents talk to me about, should I move my child ahead? That they're 10 years old, but they're doing the work of an eighth grader, ninth grader. And I think you got to think ahead too about if you put them in classes with kids that age, sometimes that's wonderful. You got the one room schoolhouse kind of thing, but also just remembering developmentally, like what are the older kids going to be talking about? Are they going to be getting their driver's license 5 years before your kid or something? And just all different kinds of factors play into that. Just things to be aware of. I guess mostly we're talking about the academics, but those kinds of things are absolutely things to consider as well.
Thank you for joining us as we have enjoyed our own conversation on accommodations and modifications. We really appreciate being able to encourage you and hope that these are things that equip and empower you to continue your journey of education.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation and found it insightful. Be sure to check out today's show notes for all applicable links and additional resources. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Your support helps us continue to bring you great content. Until next time, happy homeschooling.